Do you guys like Digimon? Because I love Digimon, and I also love the fact that the Digimon card game is going to be revived in April! Yes, so as you can see, this is something I am super hyped about. This is something I've been dreaming about for so long, like getting a new proper Digimon card game. In a nutshell, I think I will most likely be adding this game to my repertoire of box openings on this channel. So on top of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard, I will also be opening and covering the products of this new Digimon card game. But what do we actually know about this game so far? Other than the fact that it releases in April, 3 starter decks have been revealed which will all cost 500 yen each, which is actually really cheap as far as card games go. The first deck is Gaia Red, featuring the Agumon and Wargreymon line. Then we have Cocytus Blue, featuring the Gabumon and Metal Garurumon line. And finally Heaven's Yellow, which will feature the Patamon and Angemon line. On the website, we also got preview images for the cards of Agumon as well as Wargreymon. On the top left, we have 2 separate costs for each Digimon. In blue, we have the summoning cost, and in red, we have the evolution cost. So it looks like we will be able to summon champions, ultimates, and megas directly, but it will be cheaper to just evolve them on top of their previous stages. On the top right, we have their DP values, which looks like it's just going to be their combat power. On the bottom, we have the name of the Digimon as well as their level. It looks like in the card game, they are going to use levels to represent the stages. So level 3 will be Rookie, I'm assuming 4 is Champion, 5 is Ultimate, and 6 is Mega. And level 1 and 2 are probably basically reserved for Baby and In training. But I'm not sure if they'll actually make cards for those stages. And under their names, it also lists their stage, be it Rookie or Mega, their attribute, be it Vaccine, Data, or Virus, as well as their type, which for Wargreymon is going to be Dragon Man. Now here's the interesting part. You'll see that the Wargreymon card has an effect that's displayed in basically a dark grey box on top of the name within the card artwork. But for Agumon, Agumon doesn't have an effect like that, but it seems to have an effect that appears in basically a red box or rectangle below the name instead. So to explain what this means, we'll have to look at the key themes of this brand new card game, which will be evolution and cultivation. When you digivolve in this game, you place your higher stage Digimon on top of your lower stage Digimon as if the lower stage is something like your soul in Vanguard or an Xyz material in Yu-Gi-Oh! So for example, if you evolve Agumon all the way to Wargreymon, you'll have Metal Greymon, Greymon, and Agumon beneath your Wargreymon. And when you evolve Metal Greymon into Wargreymon, you place your Wargreymon card in such a way that the red effect box at the bottom of your Metal Greymon card is still visible. The point of this is that when you evolve or when you digivolve your Digimon, your brand new Digimon actually inherits the effect of its previous form. Now I'm not sure if your Digimon will inherit the effects of all of its prior forms, because that means if you evolve all the way from Agumon to Wargreymon, that means your Wargreymon will essentially have 4 effects. And I think that will be a bit too difficult to keep track of, especially having to display your cards in such a way that you can read all 4 effects at the same time. I think that will be a bit clunky and cumbersome to play with. So at this point, before we receive any confirmation, I'm just going to assume that when you digivolve, you're only going to inherit the effect from the immediate previous form. So let's take a look at the Wargreymon on the website as an example. First, it has its own effect. During your turn, for every 2 cards stacked under this card, this Digimon gains Security Attack +1. Apparently, this means that when this Digimon attacks your opponent's security, an additional card gets flipped open. I'm assuming that security is going to be something like basically the life or the HP or the life points in this game. On top of that, it also gains Metal Greymon's effect. Once per turn while attacking, if this Digimon destroys an opponent's Digimon in battle, put this Digimon in an active state, and I'm assuming that basically means untapping it or restanding it if you use Vanguard terms. Taking a look at Agumon, Agumon has no effect on its own by itself, but once you evolve it into something else, it bestows the following evolution effect. During your turn, this Digimon gets +1k DP. What this means is that the possibilities are endless. Even though you're playing Wargreymon and fighting against me, and I'm also using Wargreymon, our Wargreymons might be completely different depending on how we actually evolve in order to reach that stage. And I just love the whole idea of this mechanic and how the game actually rewards you for evolving, because if you evolve all the way from Agumon to Wargreymon, it looks like that gives your Wargreymon additional damage when attacking the opposing player. However, if you only summon a Wargreymon on the spot without evolving, it essentially won't gain that boost. And it also won't gain any additional effects from having a Metal Greymon or Rise Greymon beneath it either. So already, this game has already got me very intrigued by the potential level of depth that might actually go into it, and the whole deck construction, choosing which Digimon you actually want to put in your deck to play as the different stages. At this point, we still don't know how the evolution lines will work in this game. Do we need to follow strict evolution lines like Agu Grey, Metal Grey, War Grey, or is it fine as long as they are of the same species or attribute? Next, the important part is this. The Digimon card game is going to follow a mana cost system. That means it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Vanguard, it's more similar to games like Battle Spirits, Duel Masters, or Magic the Gathering, where you basically need to pay cost in terms of a resource in order to summon and evolve your card and basically play your cards. This mana system will take the form of this device over here that they're calling the memory gauge. Now apparently, not only does the memory gauge govern the amount of actions you can take during your turn, it also governs when your turn ends and when your turn begins. That means the Digimon card game is not going to follow a traditional rule set for each person's turn, like having a fixed number of phases, like having a main phase, a battle phase, and then an end phase before your opponent takes those same turns. Essentially, depending on how you use your memory gauge, that affects when your turn ends. And on the website, it says that the moment your memory crosses the 1 mark, that is the end of your turn. Now, they don't explain this in full detail, but based on the example image they gave, this is just my hypothesis for how it's going to work. Let's say at the start of the game, the starting player has a gauge of 2. So on their very first turn, they summon an Agumon at 3 cost. So in order to pay this 3 cost, they need to move the number on the memory gauge backwards. So from 2, it will move to 1, then to 0, and then 1 on the opponent's side of the memory gauge. Now, because this action causes your memory to drop below 1 on your side and move to the opponent's side, that means it's the end of your turn, and now it's going to be the opponent's turn. What I'm confused about is this. Doesn't that mean on turn 1, you could technically summon a Wargreymon if that's your only action, just that will push the memory gauge all the way to 10 on the opponent's side, which will then allow your opponent do some crazy stuff on their turn in retaliation to your Wargreymon. I'm not exactly sure if this is how the system is going to work. This is just my hypothesis based on how they describe it in the website. But if this is the case, that means this card game is going to be super dynamic. That means there is no limit on how much sort of like mana or land you have at the start of the game. As long as you play only one action, you can really go ham and bring out a really strong Digimon, but you must be prepared to basically face the consequences of your opponent basically countering that with an even bigger play of themselves. So if you play humbly and modestly, you also restrict your opponent's plays. But if you play big, that also allows your opponent to play big in retaliation to your plays as well. And that is just so interesting to me. Now, I really want to find out how this system works exactly and talk about it in more detail once all the rest of it comes out. But yes, that is essentially all the information we've gotten so far, even though we're only like maybe even less than 3 months to the game's release. I am expecting some massive news on like the whole rules, more information about new cards and card effects to come out in the following months as we approach the release dates. So do look forward to more videos about that as new information comes in. This is a card game I am very hyped about and very excited to share with you guys, especially because I have no idea if they're going to make a worldwide English release for this, but at the very least, I'm going to keep you guys updated on how the game is going to develop in Japanese, and hopefully if I can find friends to play with, I can show you guys some matches of the game in real life as well. So with that, hope to see you guys in the next Digimon card game video.